Hello.
Hi. I am Riet.
And I'm Nicola. And you're listening to
Fromance. I said that so like Afrikaans sounding. Fromance.
Fromance.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Fromance. I'm Riet and of course my lovely co-host Nicola is right there. We're here and we're ready. How are you?
Here. It just like sums it up.
Yeah, accurate, nice. Very good. Life is great. We're doing well. So seeing now, we're both very clean and showered and have our wet hair rolling. To start off today's episode, we thought we would revisit I think we mentioned the question before, right?
We could have. We do a lot of talking before, during, and after, so who knows?
Yeah, I really don't know. But, okay, so the question was, if you were sold as an action figure, which two, what is the word?
Accessories.
Thank you. Would you come with? What would your two accessories be? And also just describe what would your action figure look like? Would you wear something specific or this is not a deep study into your psyche of what you think of your appearance or how you're perceived, please. Please. Oops. I feel that, but we're not doing that today.
Not today. Not any day, but definitely not today. Yeah, because I feel like you get torn between okay, what would I ideally like to come with, or what would actually be my reality right now? So honestly, my character would have very dark circles under her eyes. She would look disheveled and really exhausted. She would be wearing one of those all-in-one moo sleeper slouch around the house thingies that's just massive and comfy, because that's what I wear 90% of my life. And my accessories, I wanted to say coffee, but then I was like, don't fucking lie, Nicola. My ADHD medication so I can focus, and a paintbrush so I can either deface stuff or just create something. Let's go with create something.
I mean, both of those things are creating something.
True.
Just with a different purpose.
Or with different consequences.
Yes. I feel like that's pretty good. I would buy that.
Thanks.
Yeah. It'd be a nice, I put it on my bookshelf or something,
Remind you to take your drugs, and to stay creative.
Yeah, and not when Queen's Gambit came out and she hit rock bottom and she was real depressed, but she looked so glamorous and beautiful and whatever. Let's not make that the reality of what women look like in their lowest moments,
No.
So, wait, is that insulting?
Although we look pretty good and we're not thriving right now. I mean, I feel like we look pretty good right now. I could look a fuck ton worse.
That is very true. And I 100% agree.
What about you?
It's so hard, but what it would look like is probably also just very disheveled in every way. Definitely wearing sweatpants and some kind of hoodie, because if I'm not working, that is 100% what I'm wearing. And if I could wear that to work, I would. Probably a beanie or a hat. I have a hat that I really like that says "Dump Him," so maybe that one.
We saw that in episode 1 when we were looking at all the things that were in reaching distance. Beautiful.
Yeah. Today I'm very normal. I have nothing.
I know you don't even have your space situation going on. No snacks.
Oh, because it's still daytime, so I do have the light.
Oh,
but it's still daytime, so you can't see anything.
Yes.
My accessories would be. Sorry, a little bit. My allergies are a bit sniffly today. Anyway, so. I would definitely want to say something cool, but it would be a lie. So, for me, it would be probably my little bottle of Klonopin, my anxiety meds. Also, funny you mentioned ADHD meds because I did not take mine today, so this is going to be so much fun. And then my other thing, I don't know. Probably like headphones or something, because honestly, even when I'm not listening to music, I just wear headphones sometimes so people don't talk to me or
I feel
interact with
like it
me.
kind of sums you up nicely because you do love music
Hmm.
and you also don't like people that much. So I feel like it could be used for both of those things. And I really like that.
Yeah, so I guess that'll be my two things.
I like
Yeah.
it.
I love that both of us had like, I mean, that's like the reality, right? We each of us have like our drug of choice and then a thing that makes us not want to die.
Yeah. And to be fair, like our drug of choice could be like cocaine, and it's not. It's a drug that's making us semi functional in this fucked up world. So everyone
That's
is
true.
welcome that I'm spending my money to make myself more palatable. So
For the
you're
world.
welcome.
I know it's been such a like whirlwind. Before we get like on a real topic, I just thought about this now because I'm getting off of my Zoloft antidepressants, right? So I'm like adjusting to being a human that has emotions, which I haven't been for a while. And it's so hard. Like everything is just so much harder,
Mm.
and I don't know how to navigate the world.
It's so
I
wild
guess.
to me when I think like when like you saying that I don't know how to navigate the world. Majority of our life is spent as supposed adults. And when I think about like our education system, and we know this about a lot of things, people joke about, I don't know how to do tax and I don't know like how to eat healthy and do stuff. And but it's like I was never also taught like how to manage my emotions
Right.
well, and like you can't assume that people are getting that at home. Like that's what school gives is meant to give you that kind of structure. Like everyone's going to get a balanced diet of this kind of good education, but like those are
Mhm.
things that should have been in life orientation, like how to manage your emotions better, like how to deal with
Right.
conflict, how to like yeah, just navigate normal human experiences.
To how to deal with conflict. Oh my god, that is such a big one because I know so many people, and I was one of them that I just can't deal with conflict. Now I'm much better at it, but that's through years of like working on it and yeah, managing your emotions and
And being the person who's willing to work on it, because a lot of people aren't, because it's like they're not the problem. I know it's like easy to think that.
it's one of my biggest pet peeves when people are like, "Oh, this is just who I am." Like, I'm not gonna get therapy. I'm not gonna make myself better. I'm not gonna work on myself. This is just how I am, and can't do anything about it. I'm like, I want to wring your neck.
I think it's so interesting because that idea of yourself, it's almost like thinking that you came out of the womb like that. Like nothing, no processes turned you into that person, which means no processes could make you not that person, which means you just are what you are, which is a fucking fallacy.
Yeah, and it's dangerous to think like that because, and I was literally watching a video today or yesterday about this guy who used to be a Zionist because he was raised a Zionist, and
Oh, I saw you post that and I really wanted to watch and I forgot. So thank you for reminding me.
and he was just basically like, if you, his last line in the thing, it came down to like, if you still have the same values now as you did when you were growing up, you probably should like look at yourself a little bit closer because that's not normal. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, our parents also like largely, I mean, if we didn't receive incredible guidance around that, they certainly didn't either. They probably got
Mm,
worse guidance around those things. And then we just adopted like their coping mechanisms, and those would just be who we are unless we do
right.
look at that.
I just don't understand people that are our age who still refuse to critically look at themselves or like just go like, oh, these are my flaws and I can't do anything about it. But you can if you want to.
I do think that like it's only if it's benefiting them or they perceive it to be benefiting them, because like
Right.
if it makes me feel nice to rather give someone silent treatment than have like a constructive conversation, then I'm probably going to stick with that because that feels nice to be like bitter or whatever. But then when other
Mm,
things come from that, you need to also see, oh, there's actually a root cause here, and I need to look into that if I want better results in other areas of my life. So I suppose
right.
that if it's something that's really detrimental to you personally and your future and your well-being in general, you might look at it. But when it's other people on the receiving end, you're just like, it's just who I am.
Yeah, especially if it's something that makes people treat you in a certain way, or like feel sorry for you, or like fawn over you.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I've really gone into this year trying to reevaluate my relationships with people around me, and how I see myself, how other people see me, and what kind of people I really want in my life, because I don't want to give energy to stuff that like really doesn't give energy back to me anymore, because it's draining.
And also because we don't have any.
Right. Exactly. And yeah, it's just been eye-opening. So anyway.
I mean, yeah, so to carry on with the lightheartedness and critical self-reflection.
It leads into the reevaluating all your values or whatever, leads into well, we're going to talk about
that today. As well as like what kind of power we have, if any, to make change. I think more so within ourselves, but in this context, we're talking about the elections. You'll see in some of our later episodes, like Riette and I kind of touch on it a little bit, specifically the South African elections. But interestingly enough, this is an election year in America as well, which is obviously quite notable. But both of us are feeling, I think, a similar way around who to vote for, which is like the most basic kind of question, which obviously there's a lot more nuances to discuss and everything around that. But like at its core, that is what it is. And both of us are like, I don't fucking know. And people who I've spoken to in my life as well, similar age and younger and older, also like, I don't fucking know. So it's like, people, we need to be saying this out loud. And I'm sure people are, I haven't seen a lot of it. I really haven't.
Same. And the problem is that the people that I know, South Africans who are very political, I guess, which I believe everyone should be political, because if you're not, that's a bigger problem. Yeah. A big problem, not a bigger problem. But the people that I've seen share things are like the people I would expect it from. But the people that I'm worried about are the people who are quiet about it. And I think a big part of it is how we are raised to, like, never talk about religion, never talk about politics, never talk about blah, 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 blah. And unfortunately, like, when I was growing up, my parents wouldn't even tell us who they were voting for.
Bruh, okay. This is something I was going to say now, because it is like state secret, and I do not fucking understand. And it was literally said in so many words. It wasn't even a thing of like, it was like, you don't tell people who you're voting for, literally in those words. And I don't come from a very conservative home, and I don't come from a small town. I come from like Cape Town City, English parents, like we're relatively open-minded and liberal. And it was like, no. You don't tell people what you earn, which also, can we kick that to the curb?
Yep.
And you don't tell people who you're voting for. How are we meant to make a massive change by like skirting around who you are voting for? To be like, well, these are my beliefs, but 10 different parties say that those are their beliefs. How are we going to come together to make a change if no one knows who anyone is fucking voting for?
Okay, but I feel like this is such and I didn't double check this or ask anybody, but because it just came to my mind. But I wonder if this is like a white people thing.
Maybe.
Because honestly, most of my friends that are like very openly, progressively political are not South Africans, are like not white people.
Have you seen them showing support for a specific party or an agenda from a specific party?
No. More so, they've been like just sharing a lot of information about all of the parties to like, not necessarily positive information, but kind of criticism.
Cool. Okay. Because I think that also says something. And I'm wondering if it's kind of fear-based on both sides, because it was like, if you were a person of color, like there was obviously a lot of fear just in general for existing. And if you're a white person, then I feel like maybe it was, if I'm voting for the DA, for example, it's a very like white-minded, predominant party. So people are going to think like I'm racist, and I'm not. I swear to God, I'm not. But like, the Western Cape is the only one that's really like doing okay. So, you should vote DA.
Dude, no one should say that out loud.
But you know what I'm saying? So
I
people
know,
don't want to say
exactly.
that outside because they like catch the vibe, but they're like, yeah, but I need to stick to my guns or else Cape Town's going to go to shit like the rest of the country.
Right. And then now, to make matters even more, what do they call it? Sweeten the deal or whatever. The DA is like, didn't they just like propose or pass or something? They're proposing a bill for like provincial. I didn't read the whole thing and I'm so sorry, but they're trying to.
Are they trying to exit South Africa? They're trying to become a country?
It's called the Provincial Powers Bill. And it's on the DA website. It says, DA's Western Cape Provincial Powers Bill is a key step to protecting SA citizens from a failing state. And then it's just a bunch of like fear mongering. Yeah. And then I think that basically I think I might be wrong and I will read up about it after we record this, but.
Oh, I just want to, before you carry on, sorry, Riet, is actually to make that point, is like, yes, we've done like a little bit of reading and stuff, but I think Riet and I came into this when we were discussing doing it was like, the people that I know are not going to do a lot of research on this. They're going to see their friends' Instagram posts. They might watch a few things, but if it's like really in-depth dives, unless they consider themselves highly political, which a lot of people still don't want to say they are, they don't have the time, the capacity, the energy, or the interest to be doing all this reading. So I do think that, I don't really know, perspective is relevant in this case because a lot of people are going to go to the polls with that perspective, or they're going to choose to not go to the polls because they have that perspective. So
right.
That said, Riet, no apologizing, go forth and prosper.
Well, the way that I understood it is I think they want to do something that's similar to in the US what they have with like the federal government and the what is it called? You know what I mean, right? The state,
like states, governments,
like state governments, yeah.
Right.
So I think they're trying to do something like that. And
I get that because there is a party here that is called the Cape Exit Party. And that has been their cornerstone, like forever, is like they want to make the Western Cape a country. And I was thinking about it a lot, especially with the genocide going on. I was like, we have laws and stuff. You can't just become a country. Like, you can't do that. So obviously what the DA is trying to, well, maybe what they're trying to say is like, well, we know that that's politically and like legally very hard. So let's try this other strategy to do kind of the exact same thing, but in an easier way.
So I'm trying to like read a little bit because I want to know there's like 4 stages of it, but basically literally their last line at the end, they're just like, in a country as diverse as ours, federalism makes sense. The DA is pursuing it to the fullest extent possible. It's a mode of government that combines a general government with a regional government in a single political system, dividing the powers between the two.
Right, yeah. So political organization that unites separate states. So the state okay. So yeah, like how America functions.
Because that's working real well.
Granted, they're massive and they should not be one country. I do not understand how that would ever work.
No.
But South Africa is also pretty fucking big and we are really diverse. But that sounds very much like segregation. We come from a history of apartheid. Like that sounds exactly like segregation. That is segregation.
Yeah, and so what they're saying is they have a big chance of like convincing other provinces, especially Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal, to also join that. So I was like, okay. And they're like, oh, this makes up 60% of the economical power in South Africa or some shit.
What, the Western Cape?
No, with Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal.
Oh. Yeah, well, good luck to them with that. Just some like quick background for those in the know or not in the know, but voter registration is closed here. That was this past weekend. Yay! Not this past weekend, the weekend before. And the election date has not been announced as of we are recording on the 12th. So it hasn't been announced yet. I'm not sure if there might be some strategy in that. I'm not sure. But yeah, like kind of my thinking going into this is like, so I think the reason that people are feeling this way is because honestly, everywhere you turn, you're like, well, that party sucks and they've proved that they suck, or the person who's in charge sucks, or that party seems cool, but they're so small. So like, what's the point? And would they even know what to do with an entire country? Like, probably not, which is also fair enough. So, I mean, we didn't have answers, but we do have a lot of questions, and to kind of just share that we're also feeling that way. And a lot of people I know are feeling that way too.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea what to do. And it's not like I feel like I really have never had a clear idea of what to do. But I do feel like if you're from the Western Cape, there's always like this unspoken just pressure to vote for the DA, which is so shit because, people that I know that are not conservative, I would say, are still like positively backing the DA right now. And I'm like, well, you have to be critical of what they are doing as a party in Cape Town and what they're doing to people, what they're doing to like the homeless population in Cape Town.
Girl.
Um,
So I will say this. All of my voting life, I voted for the DA. And anytime I felt that, like when the EFF started, I was like, oh my God, okay, like cool. And then I just remember people in my family being like, you're going to split the vote. The EFF is not strong enough yet that if people vote for them, they will take over the Western Cape. So you're going to split the DA's votes. You're going to give more opportunity to the ANC to come into power in the Western Cape. And so don't do that. And I was like, oh my God, okay, yeah, fuck.
Yeah, that can't fall on me. How can I can't do that. I can't let that happen.
And even today when I was getting ready to talk to you, I was like, literally the other day, and I didn't know this actually, surprisingly, and I should have, but the DA has not only not said anything about the genocide, they have also like been kind of not pro-Israel, but
sympathetic. Yeah,
as in like, we don't really want to get involved in this and blah blah blah. Like, hello, our entire country just went to the ICJ. Like, as a country, we can collectively say that we are, I mean, I know it doesn't represent everyone in the country, but like, and more specifically, we have a massive colored and Muslim population in the fucking Western Cape. So explain to me how you are telling me that you're representative of this province that you are so protective of,
but you won't stand up for anything.
And for the majority, like, people who feel that way. So what my point being is that even like getting ready to talk to you, I was like, yeah, but if I don't vote DA, and I actively disagree, but it's so like ingrained, this fear. And as you said, the DA very much is driving a fear-mongering campaign. It's like, save South Africa, save us.
That's insane. And to literally the page where I was just saying on the DA's website, the first line where they talk about the bill, it says, there is a growing anxiety and despair among South Africans at national government's increasing inability to deliver on its constitutional mandate, be it energy, policing, rail, or any other of its responsibilities.
I mean, I think that's true, but I don't think that they would do it any better. It's easy to say words when you're not the one who's in control of it. Look, I'm not saying that it's not possible, but I don't think that they would do it any better.
Well, no, because the problem with the DA, and I think that people don't think about it, is I think they've mostly had the interest of like a very tiny elite at heart for their entire rule, right? They're like, oh, we're going to make the Western Cape like the nice province. Like, everyone's going to love it.
But nice for who is the question?
Exactly, because it's not nice for the people struggling or like experiencing homelessness, right? It's not nice for people who actually need governmental help. It's nice for the people who already have a little bit of power or a little bit of privilege.
Yeah.
That's who it's nice for.
And it's like meh, like South African enough to be like meh, but like nice enough to keep you complacent. And maybe it like caters to people who are a little like lower middle class even. So it reaches a little bit further than maybe some of the other provinces. I don't know. But the thing about Cape Town is, or the Western Cape is, it's great at tourism. People love to travel here. So keep those spaces really nice and safe because it makes the country look good. It makes the Western Cape look good. And Cape Townians will tell you this like all the time. I'm like, it's not that Cape Town is any safer statistically than any other place in South Africa. It's that there are only certain areas where violence is rampant. We have one of the worst like gang statistics in the world. I'm pretty sure that we're not only South Africa, like the rape capital of the world, but I'm pretty sure that Cape Town is the murder capital of the world. And everyone's just like, but Cape Town's great. It's great if you live in the burbs.
I need to tell you something real quick, because I
Please.
was reading this the other day, and it's not necessarily, it's kind of related to, whatever. I was Googling, like, I don't know if I told you this, but anyway, I was Googling the, like, highest, countries with the highest crime rate in the world. South Africa is third, right? In that, there's a part, and it says that the people who conducted the survey, or like statistic, whatever, they asked men in South Africa, and 1 in 4 men in South Africa admitted to having raped someone. 1 in 4 men in South Africa.
Yeah, because it's one thing for women to say 1 in 3 of us has been, but for the men to actually admit that?
Yeah. I'll send it to you later. It was like, it wasn't like a puff or like a fluff piece somewhere like, oh, this is just my opinion. It was like a legitimate, like, research website thing. I don't know, company, organization, blah, blah, blah. When I saw that, my jaw dropped.
And that also says to me, like, okay, so you understand the meaning of consent. You know that you did not get it. And you're like, yeah I did that. Yeah, because that's also, and I haven't seen a lot of mention of that, because obviously people are like, we have no electricity, and women are like, we're dying. But GBV is one of our biggest problems here, and it only gets lip service, and that's it. So, I mean, the point of this episode is not to like shit all on the DA. Obviously, Riet and I are from the Western Cape, but like the top 3 parties in terms of like the votes that they received in the 2019 elections is the ANC, which is the ruling party currently, the DA, and the EFF, in that order. And what they're saying about this election is that, like, they think that this is going to be the first election since 1994, which is when we had our first democratic elections, that the ANC is going to get less than 50% of the vote, and that they might look to form a coalition government. And the thing with the coalition government is that you're like, okay, cool, they get like other perspectives in there, but when it comes to how many seats they have, you know, those people are really just placeholders so that someone else didn't come into power. And they're also not going to join with parties that probably don't do what they say. And the people who end up in the coalition with them are probably smaller parties who are trying to get better known so that in the future they can do better. Like, it's going to be totally politically driven, not like service delivery driven at all, not focused on what people want outside of governments.
Gotcha. I don't know much about coalition governments. Really haven't read about that at all. So not something I'm super familiar with.
I mean, I don't know a lot. I just know that they're not going to join forces, for example, with the DA because they're opposition parties. People have spoken about the ANC and the EFF maybe joining forces, but I don't know that like the EFF would do that because they're hypercritical of the ANC.
Right.
And if they did do that, I think it would be like a massive slap in the face to their supporters.
And also just to their political agenda, because it's completely different to what the ANC stands for.
100%. And that's kind of what they've sold themselves as, which is why a lot of people back them. So yeah, just to say, like, the concerns around the ANC is obviously that we can see there's a lot of fucking problems. I'm sitting here, and I mean, we do have a different power, like we have more power source here in Cape Town, so our levels are a bit different, but load shedding is up to level 6 at the moment. Maybe it's dropped down to level 5 now, but yeah, like yesterday there was a good 6 hours or so of load shedding. 4 hours of that was consecutive, and there's obviously places in South Africa that are experiencing a lot worse than that. It's really bad for business. There's a lot of corruption. There's just like a lot of issues with the ANC being in power. In terms of the DA, there's a lot of racial concerns there. As Riet and I have said, like, yeah, at a glance, the Western Cape looks like it's doing great, but for who? And then with the EFF, I mean, it might be unfounded. I don't feel like it is, but I have a lot of fear of Julius Malema, maybe because I'm white.
I think it is probably because we're white.
But also there have been like criminal charges laid against him. But to be fair, that could be a political like move, because I don't think he was found guilty. I feel like the charges were dropped or whatever. Like, I think it was a political move, but he comes across, and it might just be a persona, but he comes across as very unhinged. So I know that like of late, the things with him have been like, I mean, it's always kind of been a thing. He's a bit of it's like what's the word? Sensationalism. So I think he kind of thrives on that. But there's been stuff where it's kind of like he's they say he's like inciting violence. There was an attack on an EFF supporter in the last elections, and I think the comment was made like murder is basically like also an option in terms of like dealing with the haters. So that's kind of the thing that like you could say you're worried about. Like you don't really want a president who's going to be like, yeah, that's okay, they were shit to you, so you murder's an option. But I do think why people are being honest, what they're really concerned about is that he's going to take their land.
Yeah, which I don't own land in South Africa, obviously, because I'm not rich.
Yeah. But I mean, like your family, your dad maybe does. Like, I don't either, but like my parents do.
Yeah, I don't even know what my dad does. I just don't even think about that. So I think it's a similar thing with people voting for the DA, right? It's like a fear of having to let go of that like comfortability or like privilege a little bit, because if the DA is not in power, why do I keep doing this? I hate that. Well, if the DA is not in power in the Western Cape, then obviously maybe there will be some like growing pains or adjustments, or the people who now are like the privileged class will have to experience not being that,
Yeah. And even not to that huge extent, because to start off with, it's not going to be like, we're stripping you of your home. Like, no, there is still a constitution and there are still laws, and it's not going to be like that. But we've seen a lot with like men and white people over the past couple of years. It's like anything when you're in a privileged position that makes you feel like you're losing any sense of power, you're like, that's unequal. No, it's been unequal.
Literally that. And I say this so much that I think people who know me are fucking bored of me like saying this, but it's if you are the privileged class, equality can feel like oppression.
Yes.
Because you're not getting what you used to get. And that's fair, but also not really. Your feelings are not important. That, when it comes to like trying to readjust a whole economy or a country with equity and not equality.
Oh yeah, and equity. People in privileged positions do not like equity, and I get it because it seems like unfair, but someone needs a leg up at some point, or else the inequality persists forever.
Right. And so then you're not gonna, that's where you get the people who are like, oh, but this is like reverse apartheid now. This is reverse. And I'm like, no, it's not, because number one, white people can go wherever they want. They don't need passbooks. Number two, they can travel, they can leave, they can have jobs, they can do whatever they want. It's not reverse anything. You're just experiencing a little bit, like a smidgen of equality. Not even equity.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't even understand what equity is in terms of, or like compared to equality.
For sure. I mean, I don't know if you want to break that down like at its most simplistic, or...
I mean, so the thing that I always use, and maybe I'll try and find the image for it and put it in here, but...
The one with the wall?
Yeah, and like giving everyone like... So everyone's trying to see over the wall to watch like the soccer game or whatever. So, but like one person is short, one is a bit taller, and one is like real tall. So equality would be like giving each of them the same size, like chair to stand on. Right? Please correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen this in a while.
No?
But that's still not fair, because you're not addressing each person's needs individually. What you're doing is you're just giving like a broad, general kind of solution that helps some people. But if you're going to look at it and be equitable, I guess, would be the word, maybe, the shortest person, you're going to give the tallest chair to stand on, so that everyone can see over the wall and not necessarily just give everyone the same size chair. I don't know. It's like teaching a child with ADHD versus a neurotypical child. They have different needs, and you can't treat everybody the same way.
If we were not living in a time where political, being like a career politician kind of stage, where it was just public service, and you were like, this is the party's ideals. I trust them to follow through on those in the best way possible. We all recognize that like equity, equality, distribution of wealth and everything is good for the entire country and its future. And we trusted people to do that without corruption, like stealing millions of tax rands and stuff like that, then I think it would be a lot easier to vote. But the thing is that we do have to consider who are part of those parties and what their history has been in order to feel secure in saying, yes, I agree, for example, that land has been stolen and people are suffering because of that and other people are, you know, living in generational wealth pockets all over South Africa because of it. So yes, something needs to be done about that. But I don't trust most of the politicians that I know of, as far as I can see them, to not fucking steal that money. And I get it, hoarding wealth, like especially in a country that's like been super oppressed, like I get wanting to look after your own. I get that. But I can understand also why people are scared to do that. And especially people of privilege, because they're like, but I'm being taken care of. And now people are going to come and like steal my shit. And I do think that there are people that could come into power that would legit just do it in a very like shit way. And I don't think that it would necessarily, like, it's fine if you do it in a shit way. But if it's literally benefiting the people that you say it's benefiting and not just you as a politician or you and your buddies, which I think is the concern here. Also, I know like South Africa, it's complicated. Like if we start talking about the Western Cape in specific, like a lot of people will be like, but the Western Cape was not like black people weren't here, like blah, blah, blah. So when you start talking about whose land is it, like I'm not saying it's white people. We fucking know it's not. But when you start talking about like whose land is it, it also becomes like this really, But that said, it's the white people who often go, yeah, but it's not the black people's land either. Yeah, bitch, but you're the one living in a house and like the CEO of a company, so shut up.
Living in a house with a yard. You're not living like 10 people in one like informal settlement like shack. I don't know if you can say that, but like it's so true, because with the talking about like the politicians and what they stand for, but because if I look at like the EFF's like mission statement, or they sell themselves as this like Marxist Leninist party, right? You got me there, but I'm in. Let me read what you stand for. Oh, hell yeah, I'm voting for you. But then you watch Julius Malema or like the EFF in Parliament, or like just what they say and how they go about their things, and then I'm like, maybe I'm not gonna vote for you.
The thing is, it's just like, this just came into my head now, but like when people like, and again, generally privileged white people are like, but why do they have to burn stuff when they're protesting?
Oh my god, don't even get me started.
Because y'all won't listen until your house is on fire, right? So I know, like, and I was in my brain, I was like, yeah, the EFF is so fucking immature. Like, they will sit in Parliament and just be like, speaker, 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 to like disrupt everything. And I'm like, those people are gonna run our country. But to be fair, they get fucking attention. They annoy the shit out of the ruling party. They're rebel rousers, right? So they're like very anti-establishment and everything. And I'm like, yeah, that's rad. And they probably only take those strategies because it gets the attention that burning a fucking Renaissance art piece does, and more so than you like experience systemic racism at university. You know what I'm saying? Like, burn the fucking Renaissance painting then. Fucking do it. So yeah, there is that. I was like, in my brain, I was like, they're fucking immature. Do I really want them running my country? But also it's probably just a well thought out strategy that has gotten them a lot of attention, and they're third biggest party in the country. So that said though, and this also, I'm just going to say white so much because the stuff that circulates within my real life echo chamber is very different than my social media one. My social media one is unfortunately very concentric and Eurocentric. I don't get a lot of political stuff that's South African in my feed for some fucking reason. Obviously not seeking it out enough. But there's a lot of stuff around Julius Malema's wealth and his ties to very rich Europeans, like hanging out on yachts. And I'm pretty sure that the bro owns like a Lamborghini or some shit like that. Like, and you're like, okay, cool.
No idea.
Yeah, so it's like, and I mean, I think this was a long time ago, but definitely within the time of him being the EFF
Mm,
leader. Um, and then you start thinking about the benefits to wealthy countries in keeping African countries destabilized. And
right,
then I get worried again. So
right.
who can we trust to protect us, protect our interests as a country, as an entire country,
Mm,
not just their own benefits by like, well, if I keep the, rebels, I mean, we don't have this problem in South Africa, but if we keep the rebels like armed, it keeps the country unstable, which means we
yeah,
can exploit the country from whichever European country or wherever. So that benefits us, and we'll support you fucking around in parliament and
right.
inciting violence or whatever. And I'm
Mm,
not saying that just about the EFF. I'm saying like in general.
mm,
So that worries me too. So who actually
right.
has our best interest at heart? I feel like no one.
That's the problem because I feel like it also has to be said that I mean, a lot of African countries are still so unstable politically, and like, I mean, if you look at Congo and stuff like that, um, who really, if there's an outside influence or an outside contributor or whatever, are people really going to have that country's best interest at heart ever?
And it's even difficult if you are a career politician, or like if you do want the best, you also acknowledge that you need money to do that. And I think it's a slippery slope, because you're investing, but then all of a sudden what you're investing comes with a lot of conditions that I didn't sign up for. And now I made
Right.
these promises to my people, and how do I now execute them without that money? So maybe if I do a little bad thing and then it turns into a bigger bad thing. But there's a lot of evidence that a lot of countries have been kept in this unstable state
Mm.
for international gain.
Right. And because Africa is so rich, like with relating to resources, that I feel like people are just going to try and continue to find ways to extort it.
Yeah.
Um, and I was actually just reading an article about the election, and the person writing it, basically what it came down to, he said that he's not going to vote for one of the big three, regardless of what anyone says. But rather he's going to vote for like a smaller independent party to at least lower or like lessen the amount of seats that the powerful parties hold in parliament.
This is a perfect
Mm,
segue into like, what are our options? So what I will say is, I mean, we've already discussed this now a lot, is that like who is in the party is important, but yes, what the party
mm.
stands for is important, and that's easier information to gather, because other things, a lot of speculation. Can I also just throw this little caveat in? Ooh.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. Go.
Jacob Zuma has started a political party that is going to be on the ballot. It's registered. It's
Isn't he
registered.
like convicted?
He has a registered political party that is going to be on the ballot. So unhinged.
Jesus.
I just wanted to put that out there. Anyway, so that aside, little tidbit for you.
I think what we should do maybe, and I'm gonna really do some research over the next like week or so, and maybe we can do like a deep dive into every party that's like an option.
So this is what I wanted to say. Riette, save your energy. There is a beautiful human who has done exactly that. And it's not people focused. It's only what's platform focused. So
Right.
all these different things like economy, LGBTQIA rights, violence, crime, all of those things are broken down by party.
Love
And
that.
yes, so for like all the parties, it's 144 pages, but you can literally just skip to maybe a party that's caught your eye or something. So I feel like we should link that. It's called, because it's a free download, Bless This Person's Soul. And as I say, it doesn't have the thing of considering who the people are in that thing, but it covers all the parties' ethos. It's called South Africa's Easy Election Guide, Who to Vote For in 2024. And obviously, I mean, I'll send that to you immediately, because that's something that would be of interest to you. His name is Nickolaus Bauer. I think he's German, but this is literally just researched as in like from their websites. So I don't feel like there's a lot of room for opinion, which is good.
So I think the thing that I would do then based on that is go into each party's like leader or the prominent people in each party. And because if, like I said before, if I look at the EFF's economic views, love that. Very me.
Yeah, but the views are one thing. Implementation is another. And yes, what they stand for in their everyday life. Like, if he literally owns a Lamborghini, you're going to be like, really?
Is that Marxist crap? Are you sure? You sure? So I think taking into consideration just like pure research, unfortunately, probably will not be like you're going to need a more rounded view. So
yeah.
I think I'm going to do some digging.
Yeah. And it's difficult, I suppose, also because you don't know what was politically motivated, like charges. It could be, and you just don't know. So it makes that person look bad, which is what they were trying to do. We don't know. It's so difficult to weed through this stuff. But what that person essentially was saying in your article is something called like strategic voting, or what they call like protest voting. Because I met someone the other day who they wanted to be a registered voter, which, as they found out, they actually already were. They want to register as a voter, and they were going to say, and they said to me, not vote. So I said, so you are making a statement by being a registered voter, and they say, okay, we have so many registered voters, but only so much percentage actually voted. Is that saying something? And he said, no, like that is one way, but he was saying he's going to go to the poll and make a spoiled ballot. Okay. And I was like, okay, that's another strategy. So yes, there's being registered and not voting, which can say something. There's spoiling your ballot by either leaving it blank. In some countries, I don't think they do it here, but in some countries they have a box that says none of the above, to be like, y'all suck and you need to know it. So that's my vote. Or you can literally just be like, you can fuck up your paper in some way, which is fine, and submit it. But the thing about just like spoiling the ballot in general is that they don't know, was it lack of voter education?
Right.
Was, unless you're writing across it like your puss, you know,
oh my God.
or like,
I might do that.
Yeah. So that is an option as well. Who that gets to, I don't know, because when you're counting votes, you see a spoiled ballot and it's just at your voting station and they go, oh. This is not a democracy, whatever. Then the person counting it goes, okay, yeah, you're probably right. That's a spoiled ballot though. That's not getting the ladder.
Right. It's not going to do anything.
Unless like hundreds of thousands of people are writing the same like slogan. And that's why you need to talk about it, because if that's the action that people want to take to make a statement, it needs to be collective, right?
Yeah.
So some people just making no marks, some people scribbling, some people writing, some people whatever. They won't always be sure what is the message you're sending, right?
Right.
So it is a strategy, but it needs to be an organized strategy, and you need to know what is the message. Because a blank page, a mismarked page, they could be like, oh, we're not educating our voters well enough on how to vote. Okay. And then the strategic one, because if you spoil the ballot, even by maybe you select two parties, because you're like, actually, I agree with both these people and I want them to know, but it's still a spoiled ballot, so it doesn't help. With strategic voting, like, yes, you might end up splitting the vote. And as our parents would say, you're making it easier for a shit government to take over our beautiful province. But if you strategically vote, that means you choose a party with which you do align with their ethos. And you say, I want this party. So when those votes are counted, because essentially it's a popularity contest. We've spoken about this with social media before. If someone likes your content and you kind of stop believing in what you started out talking about, you might just soldier on because it's getting you millions of likes. So if everyone is saying, I fucking align with what this tiny ass party is saying, then your DAs, your ANCs, your EFFs might be like, oh, okay, the people actually want us to like be doing this thing. We can do that, you know, if it's going to give us more votes, like we can do that. And that sends at least a more direct message. And you are still using your like democratic right to vote. You are still using your voice. So for me, it would either be like trashing the paper with some kind of slogan that probably isn't going to get to government, or that where I look for a party that I feel like aligns with me the best. And their leaders are not absolute trash, which you might think they're not, only because they're not well known enough yet to have that revealed about them. Still problems, but maybe the way.
I think that's it. And I think that's what I'm gonna do, because I don't think, especially voting from here, like if I just go write, oh, DS a boost on the fucking ballot, the lady at the embassy that's checking my thing, she's just gonna go, stupid, and then she's gonna throw it away. Like it's not gonna make a difference at all.
Yeah. As I say, the only way that would work is if like hundreds of thousands of people were starting a movement, as in like hashtag democracy is dead or something. And they were like, oh my God, we had thousands of these. They would have to report that. They would be like, but that would have to also be organized.
So you're very hopeful in that sense, but I'm just like, I don't think they would give a fuck, dude. I think they would just look at these thousands of hashtag democracy is dead and they'll just be like, really doesn't matter to me. I'm getting paid for counting these. So
and also probably fucking minimum wage, to be fair.
Probably less than minimum wage. And then also sitting on one of those like, you know, braai white plastic chairs all day trying to count the votes. Just being like, oh my God, can I just go home? These people are wasting my time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think they care enough about a cause to like do something about it.
Yeah. And I don't know, Riet, like I feel this is not like, you know, some massive thing, but I feel like you and I feeling the way we did growing up about voting, like I am going to come on here with you and be like, I'm voting for so-and-so. And that also gives the opportunity for someone who watches it to be like, oh, but Nicola, have you heard this thing about this person? And I can be like, oh my God, I fucking haven't. Thank you.
Right. I think that's a great idea because I think being transparent about stuff like that is really important. And it's the same reason why I will always talk about my mental health struggles or mental health problems, why I will always talk about religion being fucking stupid in one way or another.
That's why I'll always tell people my salary. Always.
Always. Maybe not now because my boss will fire me. I will get fired.
I don't have one currently. No, but I mean... I worked at an NGO and there was literal like racial disparity and like currency issues and being paid based on the country you were in. And I was getting like so much more than other people just because of when I was hired and all this stuff. And I was like, y'all, this is fucked up. And no one can know that unless you say it. Yeah. But yes, certain circumstances. But yeah, like in those circumstances, like I would tell my colleagues, I'd be like, yo, I'm earning this. Like, just so you know. Yeah. But yeah, so I can say right now that the only party that's been like pretty visible to me so far, it's quite young and seems like they could maybe align with me, is a party called Rise. They've been pretty active. So that also means that they obviously have funding, which other people who maybe align with me more don't. So I'm seeing their posters. I'm seeing them have like pop-up things, which, you know, that just means they're more visible. Doesn't mean that they're better than a smaller party who can't afford that. But that's where my mind is at right now, is Rise.
I've heard of them.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, that's better than nothing, I suppose. But yeah, I will send you that book. We will link that book. And that's where my mind is at right now. But open to all of the information on shit people.
Suggestions, criticism, input. If you want to defend the DA, bring it on.
Other strategies to sending a message or making change, like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, if we could, imagine we could, like, yeah. Never mind.
I want to hear. I know you're like, Nicola, you have all these lofty ideas that's not going to happen, but also you can dream, Riet. Let's hear the dream.
I know. No, I was just saying, like, imagine just, you know, talking about this openly. We can, if we release this in time, we can make the hashtag democracy is dead movement, you know, and try and get people, you know, because at least 6 people will watch this. So then there's at least 8 of us.
You know. But 100% that, like, the more, like, I don't care if no one watches this. The fact that I'm telling you who I'm voting for is a big thing in my family. Like, that's a big thing that I've now done, which is stupid, but, like, fuck that. Moving forward, fuck that. You can't come together if people don't know what the fuck is going on.
I agree. Man, I have another question, but I know we have to finish, and I'm just going to do it really quickly, very quickly. What is your opinion on people not living in South Africa voting?
Oh, vibes. Well, you're one of them. What is yours?
I know. Well, because I feel like I am very involved in politics and like try to keep in the know with the political situation. And, you know, even though I'm not going through or experiencing living in South Africa at the moment, a lot of my friends live there, obviously some of my family. So it's important to me still to kind of make choices that can create a better country for the future. But also a lot of people say that if you don't live in South Africa, you shouldn't have a voice because you don't.
But you're South African. So, I mean, you could still at a later stage come back, which means you kind of want to come back to something that you believe in or are invested in. And I do think, yeah, you're kind of maybe not the general demographic of people that don't live here, in that you are still invested. You are still asking the questions. Some people might just go and cast their vote because they're like, you know, I have this right. I should do it. I want to keep the Western Cape white. I should go and vote DA, you know. So, yeah, people have immigrated because they're like, fuck, this country's going to the dogs. I'm out of here. Like, yeah, you should stay out of our business. That said, a lot of people do move back, and then, I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of people here even, like, will just talk shit about how shit South Africa is. And you know?
But to be fair, if I did not scratch just a little bit beyond the surface, which if we didn't do this episode, maybe I wouldn't have, like, I would also just be that person. Everyone's shit. What's the point of voting? Or I'm going to just go vote and vote to always vote for because everything's whatever and I don't care. So I feel like the mentality here and the knowledge here, besides living like through load shedding or hearing the news about South Africa more often or whatever cuck you're pissed about in South Africa, like we maybe hear that stuff a bit more, but a lot of people are just living on social media, not actually watching the news, and the news is also like biased as fuck and whatever. So like I don't feel like anyone who's not here maybe knows a shit ton less or a shit ton more than people who are here. We're not super educated voters, I would say, a lot of us.
Yeah.
So,
but you can say that about every country, to be honest.
100%.
No one is an educated voter because the government prefers people to be uneducated voters because it's easy to control them.
Yeah.
But that's a story for another day.
Yeah, because that is a whole thing as well with, I don't know, I believe with our government as well.
Yeah,
but yeah, so I mean, I don't have any particular opinion on it. If you just like, you know, South Africa sucks and I never want to go back there and whatever, then just don't come.
Don't vote. Don't vote. Don't come. Just stay away. Renounce your citizenship.
Yeah, go and vote where you're living now. Have a great life. Have a say there. But I will say that, you know, voter registration or voter turnout in 1994 was 90% of registered voters. And in 2019, it was 65%. So I don't think that that is the solution. I do think we need to go to the polls, and I do think we need to be strategic about it, even if it's not like, well, my vote is not going to get that party into power. That's not necessarily where we need to be at right now.
Right. But I think that's important to actually go to the polls, because then you are showing the people that you actually care about the country. Because if you just abstain and you don't do anything, then they're just going to say, oh, they don't care. So we're going to keep doing what we're doing.
And imagine we get to a point where, like, say, I mean, this is batshit, but like we get to a point where 10% of the country is voting, right? That's not democracy. I mean, I know what we're living in is not really democracy anyway, but that's not democracy then, right?
No.
And also then they might look at it and go, oh, well, maybe democracy is not what they want.
Yeah. And then we're in for a fucking ride.
So we need to be careful about what kind of message we are sending by our actions. Like, you know, the whole thing of being silent on something is also aligning you with something.
That's why I think, like, the best thing is just to vote for someone that you agree with the most, but probably an independent party to try and at least, you know, spread the amount of seats in parliament a bit more equally.
And say, I agree with these values.
Yeah.
You guys should consider them maybe.
Yeah, and if that makes that party grow a little bit, and then in the next election they have a bigger chance, then nice.
Yeah. Or they just are quite vocal with the power that they have, the seats that they have, and they, you know, cool.
Yeah. Point is, vote. Just vote.
Yes.
Do your research and vote. Don't just vote what your parents told you to vote for.
If you don't want to. And also fucking speak to your friends about it.
Yeah, tell everyone who you're voting for.
And why. Because there should be a fucking good reason. Actually, I think it's good to tell people, because they'll be like, why? You need to know why. Right.
If someone tells me that they're voting for the DA, I'm going to be like, why? Why are you voting for the DA?
Tell me how it benefits you. And if it's like, we have less power cuts in Cape Town and I feel safe in my suburb, like if I voted for the DA, it would be that. It would be, we have less power cuts, and because I'm white and where I live is cool, I would like it to stay that way. That would be my reason for voting for DA, which is why I cannot.
And that would open a very big discussion between me and you.
Massive. And that's important.
Yeah. You can't vote just for your own comfort anymore, you know?
And then also, like Riette, people, if you're listening, like, you need to be open to that conversation. And if you're going to have that conversation with someone, also try and be, like, as nice about it as possible. I know it's fucking hard because you'll be like, you suck. But, like, guys, be open to criticism.
You're saying this to me personally, I think, because...
No.
No, but I get very mad.
Because you have reason to be like, I do believe that, which is also my problem, because I'm mad because I'm right. And they're like, yeah, but I think I'm right. And I'm like, but you're not. So that's
Like,
not a very helpful
factually.
conversation.
Honestly.
But yeah. This was amazing. Thank you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you and the 4 people who are listening to us.
We love you. And
we love you guys.
Yeah. And I'm glad that we're talking about this, and we will keep talking about it.
Yeah, follow the election journey with us. It's going to be a wild one.
Yes. First, find out when the election date is. That would be a good start. We will see. As soon as we know, it'll be on our socials.
It'll just be like next year.
That's one good thing. They have to do it within this year, but they'll be like December 31st when everyone's pressed out of their brains. That's when it will be.
That's when the white people are incoherent because they're listening to fucking socky music on the beach.
We might actually vote rebelliously then, you know? Who knows? We might actually just go balls to the wall.
Or just like vote as a joke. Hey, this acronym is really funny. I'm going to vote for them.
Oh, Lord. Alrighty. Well, we'll wrap up there and we'll catch up again soon.
Yeah. Talk to you guys soon.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.